Welcome to the Star Podcast.
Whoa. Star Podcast.
Welcome to the Star Podcast, hosted by Nat. Each week, we share tips and stories from safety, trucking, and recruitment, and everything in between. Listen now.
Welcome back to another episode. I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down and speaking with Jes, who's an instructor, scheduler, owner of Second Chance CPR Northern Ontario, and they are based out of Sault Ste. Marie. And in this short episode that we did, it's less than 30 minutes, I learned so much from her. She shares some really good basics. So whether you decide maybe you're not ready to take a First Aid CPR class, but you just want to know some basics, she shares some amazing tips for that. And she gets into what's covered in her training classes. And she's just so very passionate. She shares her story behind why she got into teaching. And it's just so good. So I definitely think you should give it a listen now. So I just want to start out by welcoming Jes to the podcast. I'm so happy that you could join us and talk to us all about First Aid and CPR. So welcome.
Thanks, Leslie. I'm really excited to be here. I love talking about this stuff, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, it makes it exciting when someone's excited about what they're talking about, so that's great. So I was hoping to get started, you could share a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I was born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie. Went away to university and stayed in the Toronto area for about 7 years. I had met my husband in high school. We went our separate ways a little bit during university, but ended up back together. And we stayed down there and made a decision when he proposed, did we want to live in the Toronto area and have a family in the Toronto area? And we're both from the Sioux, so we thought, well, that's ridiculous. So we moved back home. At that time, I had gotten hired on with Canada Border Services Agency. So I was a border services officer for 21 years.
Oh, wow.
It was a great job. I loved it. We had 2 girls at that time who are now 21 and 18. He works for Algoma Steel, and it was a great way for us to raise our kids in this city. We love it here. We have intentions of staying here until we see where our children end up. But we live on a little hobby farm. We have a good amount of acreage, and we love it here in the Sioux. And we made a decision to open up this company with the intentions of servicing Sault Ste. Marie as local people servicing local people. And we hope, to expand ourselves towards the north, where we recognize pretty clearly that there's not a lot of services that we provide moving north. So we'd love to be a part of that as well.
For sure. Oh, that's awesome. So can you just share a little bit like what the company name is and what you do?
We are Second Chance CPR, Northern Ontario. Second Chance CPR was founded in Windsor in 1989. And while I worked for the CBSA, I ended up doing a lot of training. When I was 34 years old, I got diagnosed with heart disease. And it was a massive change in my life. I grew up an athlete, and even as an adult, even with children, I was playing hockey a couple times a week. I was playing basketball a couple times a week. And at 34, I was having a lot of trouble. I was having a lot of trouble from the age of 18. But I was misdiagnosed for a really, really long time. Age 34, I finally had gone to a doctor, and I said, this can't be right. I'm passing out. I've got this terrible cough in my throat all the time. There's just something that's not right. And by then, technology had advanced a little bit better, and I got sent away for some testing and got diagnosed with heart disease. ARVC is the disease. And I had a defibrillator put in my chest at that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they had told me then, no more sports, and you can continue with your job the way it is. I mean, I carried a firearm, so it caused, a lot of training, annual training, and a lot of physical work. And they said, you can continue your job the way you are right now, but as the disease progresses, that's going to change. So I started to get into training at work at the border, and they, I really enjoyed it. I liked speaking publicly. I loved learning about what I was training. It seemed like a really good fit. And one of my main jobs was to do all the training within our local CBSA and some of Northern Ontario for first aid and CPR. And being diagnosed freshly with a heart disease, it all kind of seemed really relevant to me.
Yeah.
And about 3 years ago, I ran into friends of my sister in Windsor, and they said, well, we own Second Chance CPR in Windsor. Why don't you train for us in Sault Ste. Marie? So I did. For about 6 months, I was training for them here. But what I noticed was there was a massive need in this area. So I called them and said, how do you feel about like franchising? And they're like, well, we've never done it before, but let's look into it. And so that's what we did. So Vince, my husband, and I decided to franchise. He's mostly in title, and I go to him for a lot of just someone to bounce ideas off of. But I do, all the scheduling. I do a vast majority of the instructing. We're up to about 8 employees now who instruct for us.
Yep.
Yeah, and we also do emergency response, which has been a big jump for us. So we go to sporting events. We send people who are either have a nursing license, fire license, or paramedic license. We send them with a trauma bag and an AED and an oxygen tank. And they show up to these events and they make the decisions on how to deal with people who've been injured in the sporting event. So it takes the pressure off of coaches and refs, and even trainers who don't necessarily have a high level of first aid CPR training, especially when you deal with head trauma and spinal trauma.
Yes.
So we take that responsibility on.
Oh, I think that's an amazing addition. I have 2 boys that play hockey, and that's always a concern. Like, what if something happens? I mean, there's volunteers there, and I always feel more comfortable when there's a paramedic or a nurse that's one of the parents, because I'm like, at least they fully know. So yeah, that was my next question, was why did you get into first aid and CPR? But you answered that. Absolutely, the personal health concern, and then your passion for it too.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I've had, from 34 to now I'm 48, I'll be 49 next month. The disease has progressed. And so I have gone through quite a bit with this disease. And I've been around people who know what to do in emergency situations, and I've been around people who don't know what to do in emergency situations. And I can tell you, when you're the patient in the emergency situation, it makes a very big difference when there's somebody there who feels like they know how to help you even a little bit. And they don't have to be nurses. They don't have to be doctors. And this is what really drove me. When I look around, and the more I learn about this and the more statistics I look up, the survival rate of cardiac arrest is 5%. It's extremely low. And, part of it has to do with the fact that sometimes people are alone. And when your heart stops beating, if there's no one around you, your chances of survival are 0. And I understand that. But it's not always the case. Sometimes they're around people that don't know what to do. Sometimes people don't understand that there's defibrillators out there. Only 12% of people who go into cardiac arrest right now receive public defibrillation. And there are defibrillators everywhere. So this number should be so much higher. Some of the other shocking statistics are that if you're a male that goes into cardiac arrest, there's a 47% chance that someone might try CPR on you. If you're a female, there's a 39% chance that someone might try CPR on you. And the reason for that is women have breasts, and people are afraid that they're going to get charged or they're going to get sued, or they can't touch a woman's breasts. This is the same idea with AEDs. You have to remove somebody's shirt to put on an AED, and people think, well, I can't do that. I'm going to get charged for sexual assault. And so the biggest thing we try to tell people, and one of your questions is, what should everyone know?
Yes.
What everyone should know is that if you try to help someone with the best intentions to the best of your ability, you are protected under the Good Samaritan's Act. Okay. So the Good Samaritan's Act protects you from any legal liability if something goes wrong when you're trying to help someone, but it also protects you from things like sexual assault charges. You can't be sued or charged if a male does CPR on a woman for sexual assault. What we try to tell people is if someone needs CPR, they are clinically dead. And at this point in time, gender is completely irrelevant.
Right. Well, when you mentioned the defibrillator, I thought, like, for me to use it, it seems scary because you're not sure, is this going to hurt them? But I guess if they need it, it's not going to do any harm, I guess. But I think there's like that fear, right? If you don't know what you should do. You don't know if it's going to hurt someone.
Yeah, and absolutely. And so another one of those, what should everyone know? Defibrillators make their own decisions on whether they're going to charge up to shock someone or not. So if someone is alive, they have a normal sinus rhythm, and you just couldn't find it, it won't shock them. It can't.
Oh,
and
I did not know that.
Right. And if someone has been dead for too long and should not be brought back, they're in what's called a systole or flatline, it will not charge up to shock them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're very intelligent devices. And what they do is, what we tell everyone is, if you believe, to the best of your ability, your training, your knowledge, that the person in front of you is not breathing and has no pulse, put the defibrillator on. It will help you make that. It will make the decision for you. So you have no options. If it says, yes, we should be shocking these people, it will charge up and you push a button. If it says, no, this person does not require a shock, it doesn't charge up. At that point, it's a $2,000 paperweight. That's what it is, right? So you don't have to know. You don't have to make the decision. The only thing you have to know is, to the best of your ability, do you believe they have no pulse and they're not breathing? And we want to really encourage people to start CPR, even if they're not comfortable breathing, doing mouth to mouth, or they don't have a mask. Compressions, about 2 a second until the AED gets on them. And then we want to do a shock.
And once you start, you need to keep going, right? Like, you can't start and then decide to stop.
You're right. Essentially what happens is, when people die, another really important thing to know, when people stop breathing and their pulse starts, that's stage 1 of death, which is clinical death. If no one touches them for 10 minutes, they enter stage 2 of death, which is biological death. The difference is that biological death, they cannot be brought back because of the amount of brain tissue and organ damage that has occurred.
Okay.
When we do CPR, when we compress the heart, we move oxygenated blood through the body and through the brain, and it preserves their life so biological death doesn't begin to occur. So once you start, you're preserving their life until an AED can come along, till a paramedic can come along, till they can get to, because then the paramedics will take over and they'll do it till they can get to the hospital.
Right.
At the hospital, we have ACLS, and it's just a deeper process where they'll intubate, they'll do more than we can do out in the field.
Right. So even if you basically don't know anything, at least if you can do compressions until like a paramedic or someone can come, you're giving them a chance, right?
That's right. That's exactly what we say. You're giving them a chance. If you don't touch them, and really brain tissue and organ damage can start at 4 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, it's possible. 6 to 10 minutes, it's likely. 10 minutes, it's certain. So if you sit there for 10 minutes and not touch them, then there's no shot at life for them. And this is why this percentage of 5% survival at cardiac arrest occurs. Every minute we delay an AED, they have a 10% less chance of survival. Every minute we delay. So the faster we get that AED on them, the better chances our survival are.
So do you have any other basics that everyone should know?
Yeah. So one of the more important things to remember in the province of Ontario, if we see someone that we believe needs medical help, by law, you have to call 911. It is the only thing you're legally obligated to do. So as much as we want to train people to do CPR and get an AED or use naloxone or any of those things, you're not legally obligated. What you are legally obligated to do, though, is call 911. So
Right.
at the very minimal, we encourage people to call 911. And if you feel you can do more, they'll help you once you called. They'll walk you
Right.
through CPR. And in the future, so in the very near future, actually, because it was passed by law, in government through regulation now, everyone who has an AED is going to have to register the pinpoint of their AED. So soon when you call 911, they're going to say to you, this is the closest AED, go get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet in the province of Ontario. It's all past legislation. They're in the process now of registering all these AEDs, but that can be helpful. The other thing we tell people is if you are in a public space, just take note of where an AED might be, because they're all around. If you've never looked, you won't realize how many are out there. But once you start looking, you will recognize that there are a lot out there, and they're very simple to use. You don't need a lot of training or any training, really.
Those are really good tips for anyone to know. So I'm glad that you shared all those. So for someone who wants more and they want to maybe enroll in one of your classes, can you share a few details? What's covered?
Yeah, so at Second Chance CPR, we are WSIB certified. So we run WSIB legislative classes. I'll just give you a breakdown of the main ones that we run. The first one is our standard first aid. So this is a 2-day course. On day 1, we cover the major things like AED and CPR, stroke, how to help someone who's choking. We talk about what respiratory illnesses are. Day 1 is also burns. So the day 2 of standard first aid is medical conditions and bleeding and bites and stings, things that we might run into where, yeah, maybe it's common sense, but we talk about how to handle them and prevent infection and what we should be looking for when things get worse for people. Those are our day 2 components. Our next major course is emergency first aid. It's all of the content from standard first aid on day 1 only. And then for us, WSIB regulation states that your standard first aid and your emergency first aid, those certificates can be good for 3 years. We have a program called BLS, which is basic life support. It's included in standard first aid and emergency first aid, but it's renewed annually. It's a 4-hour refresher, and the 4-hour refresher that's done annually is meant to cover the things that really could assist in saving someone's life.
Okay.
So annually, we like you to practice CPR and talk about AEDs. Annually, we like to talk about stroke and what we're looking for in stroke. Sometimes with things like stroke, the symptoms are not big symptoms. Sometimes they're smaller symptoms that if we can catch them while they're smaller symptoms, we can avoid a major stroke. And what we were finding was when we ran stroke courses every 3 years, people forgot about that stuff. So we run these annual refreshers. Like I said, it's a 4-hour course to remind us every year about the things that can really potentially save somebody's life. So those BLSs we run them like multiple times a month. Because there's so many people who have to renew annually that we try to make it as accessible as possible.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, perfect. So where's the best place for someone to connect with you? Maybe they have a question, or maybe they want to sign up for a course or that kind of thing. Is it your website? Is it email? What's the best? Or just share everything?
Yeah, I'll share everything because honestly, it's me that checks the website. It's me that answers the email and the calls. So I pretty much do it all. Our website is www.sccprno.com/Sault Ste. Marie. If you forget the /Sault Ste. Marie, you'll get Windsor, but then you'll see in the corner it says Sault Ste. Marie, so you can click there. I can be reached at either jes@sccprno.com or info@sccprno.com. And my cell phone is 705-945-1728. That is the business cell phone. The only time I don't answer it is if I'm teaching or sleeping. So I try to answer as much as I can and be as accessible as possible. On our website, you'll see our schedule. You just pick a course. There's a link there that tells you how to pre-register. You pre-register for that course, and within a day or so, you get an email that says you are pre-registered. Send your deposit, and we'll fully register you. I book everything online. I won't book by phone because often I answer the phone when I'm not home, and by the time I get home, I've forgotten that people have called me.
Right. Yes, just simpler. And yeah, put all those links too in the show notes so that anyone listening to the podcast can get those and can click right from the podcast notes. So I think this was amazing. I think it's very helpful and so important for people to know. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I was really happy to have a conversation about this with you. It's a big passion for me. I took early retirement from the government, and this is pretty much what I do full time. I do teach part time. I'm a professor at Sault College as well, for things that aren't related to first aid CPR. But I left the government for this. It means a lot to me. You know, the conversation we just had, your response to it is exactly what I see from most people when I talk to them. It's the same idea of, you know, I haven't looked at this or thought about this in a really long time, and maybe I should, because we really, really want to get that percentage from 5% cardiac arrest survival to higher. And the more people that have an idea of what to do, the better chances we can get that number up.
And all of the basics you shared, amazing. I think just getting people thinking about it even. Well, you're very good at what you do. I learned from just 30 minutes, so I'm sure someone would learn tons by taking a class. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Star Podcast.
Whoa. Star Podcast.